Hey up and welcome to the Temple of Blair. This is a conversation with Jerome Vonk. Now, Jerome headed up Roadrunner Brazil in the early to mid-90s, so this is a territory-specific conversation and one of quite a lot of academic intrigue on my part, because I had no idea of the footprint that Roadrunner had in the South American territories, but as we know, Roadrunner is a worldwide thing, and you just don't hear a lot about Roadrunner Brazil or Argentina or any of the other ones which I'm yet to discover. So this was an interesting conversation. So thanks to Jerome for taking the time and sharing his experiences. 1, 2, fuck it up. As effective as it was in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Germany, it has its footprint all over the fucking place. There's even Indonesia has an office, or at least did back in the day. So I think it's worth diving into the ones that had their own little nuances, and Brazil was, without a doubt, one of those places. But I know jack shit about it, so I was hoping I could pick your brain on that, mate, if that's all right.
Okay, let me tell you. What can I tell you? How I started at Roadrunner.
Yeah, let's start there. Yeah, let's start with what were you doing before Roadrunner? How did case vessels come into your life, which is how I'm presuming it all happened?
Well, I did a lot of things in my life. It's easier to say what I did not do, but what I didn't do. But I ran a promotional marketing company, and it was quite successful. But Brazil has always been a very strange country, a very no man's land, politically speaking, and economically speaking too. And there has been a lot of plans that the government said, okay, now we're going to kill inflation. And they came with a plan and, okay, all assets are frozen and nobody has money, so there's no more inflation, things like that. And I had to shut down the company I had. I had the money enough to send all my employees. We were 15. And then I was, okay, I paid everybody out. I had no debts, but I had no jobs. And I knew the guys from Eldorado. Eldorado was Gravador Eldorado, Studio Eldorado was a record label from a newspaper called O Estado de São Paulo. And this company, this record company, was growing. It started as like a very niche record company for classical music.
Right, okay.
And then they started doing some more popular, but instrumental music, and then I said, okay, let's make out of this a regular record company.
Okay, right.
And then they started licensing records from other companies, and Roadrunner was then distributed by Gravador Eldorado. It was in the 90s, 1991.
Okay.
Jerome, the owner of the record company, called me and said, hey, this thing is growing and we are all artists here, and I need someone to take care of this. And will you join us? I said, okay. Although I have an artistical spirit, people always saw me as an executive man or an administration man.
Right.
And the reason why is that I don't know how to make calculations. So every time I have to make calculations, I do 3 times the same operation, different ways, to see if the result is the same.
Because you're detail oriented, so everyone thought this is the guy.
Exactly. And then everybody said, oh, okay, oh, your figures are always so rounded, everything is okay. Yeah, but it cost me a lot. Okay, then I was there, and we had a lot of different record labels we distributed. We had a new age that sold well. We had a little bit of jazz. We had this, and we had Roadrunner. And once Case arrived, and I was surprised to know that he was a Dutchman. I am a Dutchman. Hey, and we went along well. And a year later, something like that, Eldorado decided to stop with the distribution, and they would be distributed by another great or one of the great companies in Brazil, one of the great record labels in Brazil, and it was Sony.
Right.
And because finances at Eldorado were always a little bit, it was very hard, difficult times at that time. In March 1990, the inflation was 70% a month.
Fucking hell.
70% a month.
Yeah.
So prices would vary every day. You had to change prices.
Fucking hell.
So yeah. So imagine the first two, the first 18 months with Roadrunner, and I had to do reports, monthly reports. Nobody would understand anything because at that moment we had a 35% inflation rate every month.
Wow.
And say, Jerome, your figures are moving. I say, yes, and they will continue. That's the way it works here. Well, and I called Case. I called all our licensors and said, listen, this is happening with Eldorado. They're going to be distributed by Sony. And Case said, come and visit me. I'll pay you the ticket.
Cool.
I went to the Midem, and this was 93. I met Case again, and I spent the week at the Midem, and then I went to Amsterdam, and he said, Jerome, let's open Roadrunner Brazil.
What drove that decision then, Jerome? So what drove that decision? Was Case just like, we think, even though the numbers are all over the place, we want the presence in Brazil and we want you to be the head of it? What was the thinking behind it?
I think Case liked to expand. And of course, when you have your own office in a territory, you work back to the products, then if you are distributed by a third party. This is the first thing. Second, I don't know very much of the internal things at Roadrunner, because if Roadrunner were a family, the Brazilian office would be the poor cousin, you know? We're very small, we represent nothing of the income, and we would be the poor cousin. But we were home to the major act of Roadrunner at that time, that is Sepultura.
Yes.
Okay, so we opened it. I was the partner of, with a little participation, I was a partner in Brazil and a general manager. And I stayed from 93 to 97.
I see.
Yeah, there. And it was good. We achieved the gold record for Sepultura for Rise, I think. Yeah, no, Caos CD.
Right. Okay.
100,000 copies.
Wow.
Which for Brazil was great. Was really great. And well, that's it. That's the story of very short. The story of Roadrunner in Brazil.
That's the abridged version. So when you're reporting back these figures, which are going up and down, yeah. As you said, you're representing not a lot of the income of the company as a whole. So how is this being received? Is it still, that's okay. We understand there's a turbulent inflation issue in Brazil.
Well, they knew that. They knew that.
It was important to have the presence there.
Yeah, I was very straightforward and explained the things, how things worked in Brazil. And they always looked at me like this and said, hey, listen, in Brazil, they have always two sets of books. You want to work with one or two? And they say, no, just with one, official. Okay, just one. Because in Brazil, they always work with two sets of books. Yeah, and there will be if there was to be a fiscalization, I don't know how you call that, if someone from the government would come and see the numbers, the figures, would say, oh, that stupid lady, look what she wrote, this is wrong. Okay, you're fired, go away. And then you would pay a cafezinho, as they call in Brazil, you pay a coffee. But no, with Roadrunner, it was always straightforward, following the book, the rules in the book and everything. This inflation thing, it was difficult to talk about and for the guys in Amsterdam to understand. But it was as it was.
This is not the internet, so you can't just send them a link to the news article saying this thing's happened and now we're at 70% this month. You've got to hope that they picked up the Sao Paulo Times that morning, and that's the only way they're going to find out, right?
But and so it was very nice working with Roadrunner. I liked it very much because it was a company that wanted to grow, and I felt a will from everybody I knew to really make it happen.
What drove that? Do you think it's a metal thing? Do you think it's just a? Do you think it's a personal thing?
I don't know. Case has a way of involving people. Case is very Dutch. I don't know if it's a compliment or not. Depends on who's listening to this. But you know, Dutch people, they just say things. They are not very. They don't care very much for, oh, I'm going to hurt his feelings. No, they just say things. But Case, at the same time, he would give you the liberty to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And I remember once we were distributed then, Roadrunner Brazil existed already, and we were distributed by BMG. And there was some things going on. And we had a meeting with the president of BMG in Brazil, Case, me, and another guy. And the president was telling Case some things. And he said, well, listen, I've heard your story. I hear Jerome's story. I'm believing Jerome. I'm not believing you. Oh, okay. There was a kind of an awkward moment. And in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, the meeting was finished. And okay, bye-bye. And it was lunch hour. And Case said to me, listen, these people, they don't even invite us for lunch. I said, well, you call him a liar. Yeah, he is a liar. I said, yes, but in Brazil, it doesn't work this way. It's always, it's sometimes, it was very difficult. It's very difficult for Europeans to understand how Brazil works. And it's still like today, you see.
Sure.
Look at the news, look at President Bolsonaro. Well, you've got the whole picture.
Yeah. But so at the time it was formed, then what do we say? 93.
Yeah,
was when it became Roadrunner Brazil. So it was
Yes.
Sepultura was the flagship act at the time with Chaos AD. Were you required to have a relationship with the band? What with them being from Brazil? I think Maxim started living in Phoenix, if not that year, a few years later.
No, that year they moved. Exactly that year they moved. They all moved.
Right.
And yeah, they all moved. And there was the last show when Roadrunner was still distributed by El Dorado. And it was in the parking lot of the most iconic soccer place of São Paulo, Estádio do Pacaembu. And there was a guy that was killed.
This is the axe thing, isn't it?
Yeah. The guy there was how do you call them? Carecas, the skinheads, were there to provoke because metal headbangers and skinheads were always fighting.
The old rivalry.
Yeah. And once again, Sepultura made the news on the police section of the paper. You know, one more killed, and then a couple of months after they moved, because at that time Sepultura was getting real big, and so they moved and they went to the United States.
Was there an A&R function? Well, there was an A&R function to the Roadrunner Brazil office, wasn't there? Because you guys signed local repertoire.
Yeah, we signed, but we signed small groups. We tried to do something, but from the start, I told Case and people at Roadrunner, we are happy to have Sepultura. We are very lucky, but metal, thrash metal, and things don't sell very well in Brazil.
Right.
At that time, people would consume 80% of Brazilian music.
Really?
Yes, and why? And there is a secret for that. During the dictatorship, which ran from 64 to 85, the military tried to make things a little less heavier, okay? Right. And they instituted a law that if you invested in Brazilian music, you would get a fiscal rebate.
Oh, okay. So you get tax benefits from...
So everybody started doing Brazilian music. And so 80% of every music, of everything music related was Brazilian. And I would say that today, till 70% is. Because one thing, Brazil is the only Portuguese speaking country of Latin America. The rest is Spanish.
Uh-huh.
So then Brazilians are proud to be Brazilians and to speak Brazilian. Okay? And on TV, on the radio, you heard Brazilian music all the time.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that's pretty cool. But was that tax rebate still in effect when Roadrunner Brazil came about?
Yes. Yes.
So it was certainly within it was a financial benefit for you to have an A&R function. If you can sink in 15 grand a year into local artists, then your books will look a lot better because you won't be getting taxed as much.
Yeah, but it was so we tried to do some local acts, and but then Roadrunner insisted in having more, I would say, metal thread things and things like that. And then that's when I parted. When I said, okay, I don't think it's the way, but we parted in a very nice way. And there was a little bit of immaturity of my part. So I was young, I was thin, I had long hair, I had an earring. I was 37, something like that. Also, that's almost 30 years ago. But I also believed that we had to strongly invest in Brazilian music, which was not Case's idea or Roadrunner's idea. And Roadrunner was doing very fine with the kind of music they were producing in the other territories. So
the heart of the A&R function was always in the United States.
Yes, we had the girl here, Alexandra, which was at the time she was the girlfriend of João Gordo from Ratos do Porão, RDP.
Right.
Now you know that.
Yeah.
And she was our AR here, and we tried to develop some acts, but metal and hard rock, or very heavy metal, had a following. They were really like religious fanatics, but they weren't a large crowd, which on one side was very nice for us because we knew exactly where they were.
Yeah.
And in São Paulo, they had a commercial mall, like a gallery.
Yeah.
It was a 4-story mall in the center of São Paulo, which was called Galeria do Rock. And in this Galeria do Rock, there were in these 4 stories, there were about 80, 90 shops, of which 70 sold music and 50 sold hard rock.
Wow, okay.
So we knew where to go and to talk to people.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of promotion there. There was the Sepultura official fan club there also. And so we didn't have a lot of money because of course, like in all companies, you've got promotion and marketing money if you sell a lot. If you don't sell a lot, you don't have that money. So what we would do, a lot of activities in this Galeria do Rock. And we invented the Roadrunner post office, Correio Roadrunner. And people would write us letters at the time, there were no computers. And on Friday, we would stop working, open the letters and respond to the letters. everybody, from me to everybody. We were at the time 7 or 8 people, and writing letters and posting the letters.
Wow.
And so what we wanted these guys to go to the shop owners and say, hey, we want the records from Roadrunner Brazil, because we had a problem also. It's very interesting. In Brazil, everything that comes from the States is good. It's still valid today.
Mm-hmm.
Bolsonaro thinks that Trump is the best guy in the world. At that time, CDs were already produced in Brazil, but people would say, oh, no, but the CD from the States is much better.
Right, okay.
Much better. So they were buying CDs from United States that would come under the table, and they would sell this for almost the same price that we sold our CDs Roadrunner, the same CD.
So it's parallel importing this, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said, what the fuck are we going to do? So I managed to talk to Roadrunner and said, okay, every CD that we will launch here is exactly the same CD as in the States, but it will have an extra bonus.
Right. And what was it like bonus tracks, things, and
Correct. And sometimes when there was no extra bonus, we would do a phoner. Talk to the artist like King Diamond. Oh,
Yeah.
how are you doing? Do you like Brazil? Yes, I do. Okay, and put this as an extra, and with a splash, and I would say exclusive phoner with King Diamond, especially for Brazil.
Wow.
And so in this way, we would hinder a little bit this illegal importation from the States.
That's a good idea, though. Yeah.
So we had marketing, because we had a very grassroots marketing,
You had the flexibility to do those things as well, which is quite good.
Yeah.
You mentioned Alexandria. Alexandria? I'm not sure.
Alexander.
Yeah. Do you know she's in Israel now?
I haven't seen her for 8 years or 10 years, something like that. Yeah, she worked for MTV afterwards.
Mm.
And last time I saw it was like eight years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to her. I just know that she's in Israel. She won't respond to anything I sent to her. But that's acceptable. You're allowed to ignore me on this project. So that's so interesting, because I was going to ask how South America was for metal on the basis that nowadays you see the AC/DC concerts, you see the Iron Maiden concerts, and everyone's absolutely fanatical about heavy metal. But as you say, maybe at the time it wasn't quite the case. It was 80% local music, which I find absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
and rock, when rock was and Brazil rock was all sung in Portuguese.
Yeah.
And you had psychedelic groups. You had like Mutantes, which is the very famous group from Brazil, and they all sung in Portuguese.
Yeah. It's an uphill struggle then. So you weren't there when the office closed. I don't know when the office closed. I know the company was sold to someone else. So Roadrunner Brazil was packaged up and sold to someone else, and that went under, I think, in the early 2000s. But I'm not too sure of that side of it. But did you know anything about the other South American imprints, like the Argentinian one? I know there might have been a Chilean one. I'm not too sure.
I know of the Argentinian one, and I don't want to gossip, but the Argentinian one was the person that took over Roadrunner when I left Roadrunner.
Right. Okay. Say no more. I know exactly who you mean.
And I said just one thing to Case. I said, okay. I met Case like 10 years after, and he said, oh, Jerome, I remember you every time I see that guy. But that's it. No more indiscretions.
What's this Roadrunner festival that I saw then? Is that just something that happened in isolation?
I think that wasn't a festival, an act that they put up in Argentina, and I think it was in '93.
Yeah,
and it was short-lived. It happened once, and it's happened, and it happens.
well, Cannibal Corpse were playing, and they're not Roadrunner. They were Metal Blade. Cannibal Corpse were playing. It was Dayside and
exactly. Dayside.
Dayside, Cannibal Corpse, and RDP.
Yeah. Rats de Porão, RDP. That's it. And well, but when I left, Roadrunner kept going on, and then they began to make some more commercial stuff. In the beginning, still things from the outer world, from outside, from the States and from Europe, and then they began doing some Brazilian acts, but more popular, more mainstream acts. But,
you weren't there for Toy Shop, were you?
For Toy Shop?
Toy Shop. There was a band called Toy Shop, which came from Brazil, and it was.
Yes. It had another name. Yeah.
Party Up.
Huh? Party Up. Yeah, Party Up with a singer, a lady singer, Natasha, or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Party Up.
What did you reckon to that then? Because apparently Case was all in. He was like, "This is going to be the best band in the world. It's going to cross all different markets. It's going to be amazing." And then it just did jack shit.
Yeah, I mean, no, that is the way music works. I'm not an A&R guy. I'm more a marketing guy, and I'm more like a general manager. So but Party Up, yeah. And we had a band also. It's called Jambendola.
Mm-hmm.
They sang in Portuguese. They had a rhythm from the north of Brazil called HORR, but they added the rock and roll rhythm to it.
Right.
It was great. And this was very nice, and nothing happened. And 3 years later, this kind of music boomed in Brazil.
Wow. You can't.
And it was, Jesus Christ, we were 3 years too early. That's the way it works.
I focused on Toy Shop quite a lot during this project because I was just like, it's such a weird, enigmatic thing. Just knowing that Case was so invested in it, and it culminated. Oh, it didn't. The industry term I've come across talking to a load of A&R guys is it did fuck all. That's the thing. It did fuck all. However, it did make its way onto like a shampoo advert in Italy. Courtesy of Paolo D'Alessandro, who was another another colleague in that world. But it's just fascinating. There's that thing that no one's heard of, but it makes it onto a shampoo advert. And if you listen to watching this shampoo advert, you wouldn't think that's a Roadrunner band.
Yeah, they did something too with Daniela Mercury. And she was she got very big in Brazil. She was not a Roadrunner product, but Roadrunner licensed it from Estúdio Dourado. Yeah, where they were distributed in Brazil before Roadrunner Brazil. But nothing happened very much with Daniela abroad. But in Brazil, she got very, very big. Yeah. So I know that because I was at El Dorado at that time, and I got a percentage on sales. Wow, they were like nice 2 years.
Is that where all the wine behind you came from?
Yeah. No, this is Uruguay. You know, I mean, in Uruguay you eat meat and you drink wine. And I'm here now. I'm living in Uruguay, so I must adapt to the local
customs,
and I love it. I just love it.
So how would we've touched on this a little bit, Jerome, but in terms of Brazil as an operating company, how was it managed from Amsterdam? Was it just monthly reports? Let's query the numbers. Here's some A&R budget so that you can get the tax advantages. And was that it, or was there?
No, it was. At the time I spoke with Michel Tio. Michel Tio was there. So he was the management counterpart. I talked to Meno Kappa, which was royalties.
Yeah.
And well, basically, we had to send them monthly reports of what we did in Brazil. In the beginning, as I told you, the first year or 18 months was very difficult to explain. And I had a friend who was controller at Kellogg's, corn, cornflakes. Yeah. And he had worked at KPMG before and everything. I say, hey, Flavio, I have to understand. They don't understand, and I cannot explain. So how do we do? And he said, okay, let's have lunch one day. And once when they were here, we had lunch, and then we retained Flavio for a year. And Flavio would translate what not what the figures meant, but what was happening in Brazil. Because with a 35% inflation in Brazil and all this thing, it's like,
just to be clear, this isn't a language barrier because you're Dutch and Case is Dutch. The failure in communication is simply how absurd the situation is.
It's difficult to understand. Not even we who lived in Brazil could understand what was happening. It was very difficult. And you would go to a supermarket at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they were putting new prices on the products, and you would raise them to be in front of them and to take the old price.
Right.
And then you would have sold something, but the system, you would sold one day, and the system 2 days later came with the new price, and so the product went to the customer, and then the customer gave it back because the price was wrong. Crazy, absolutely crazy.
Is that why you left and went to Uruguay?
No, because then in '94 there was Fernando Henrique Cardoso, which was he's a sociologist, and he was the Minister of Economy. And then he said, no, we're going to do this, this, and this, and he killed inflation. No, but it stayed at 10% a year, which was unbelievable for Brazil. And then he managed to control inflation, and then it was easier to make the reports and everything.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So how does your time with Roadrunner come to an end? Was it just simply because you had a vision of let's invest locally a little bit more dynamically than what Amsterdam's telling you to do, and obviously if that's not going to come to fruition, you had to move on? Is that effectively?
I would say 50% immaturity of my part. When you're young, you're stupid.
Yeah.
When you're old, also, but when you're young, you're more stupid. And but on the other hand, also I was always fighting for more investment in Brazil and more investment in the local scene.
Right.
And I understand the difficulty of the Roadrunner people because nobody knew Brazil.
Sure.
Nobody understood Brazil, and the Brazilian market was basically the market for Brazilians.
Sepultura is the outlier because Sepultura was unique in that they were Brazilian doing a fundamentally American British thing.
Yeah, I say that it was Sepultura. I say, oh well, if you guys give me one band like Sepultura a year, it's fine. But no, Sepultura was unique.
Yeah,
and it was like the Sepultura was discovered in Belo Horizonte by an imprint called Cogumelo. Discos Cogumelos, which were a very tiny record company, and they grew up and grew up. And I think that was the greatest pride at Roadrunner, taking the stories of Sepultura from the police section and putting them on the cover of the cultural supplement of all major newspapers.
Yeah.
That was hard work, but we managed to do that, and that took us like 3-4 years to do that in Brazil.
Do you think that's why Roadrunner is so successful, though? Because they take these strange cultural outliers and somehow forge market viability with them. Because if we take examples in the past and in the future of that time, King Diamond is in the occult, is wearing a black and white makeup and things like that. he's the flagship before Sepultura. And it's a similar thing. It's a strange outlier act. And somehow Roadrunner's able to make it work. And then after Sepultura, we have Typo Negative, we have Machine Head, and the big one being Slipknot, 9 nut jobs in boiler suits wearing masks. What is it?
I think they invested, or Roadrunner invested in the extremes. And that's what happened. And in extremes, in a certain kind of music, but it was very extreme. Everything was very extreme. And the other were more like, middle of the road or trying to that. And I think that Roadrunner believed, and it believed correctly, that, okay, there is this here, middle of the road, but there are these segments here that can work. And maybe they're not interesting for the very big companies, but for a small or medium record label, they work, and they worked.
I think in those examples, it elevates the genre. Because if this is the zeitgeist, I could use my hair bubble as an example. If this is the zeitgeist and you just throw everything into this corner of the culture, everything sort of shifts up towards that place. No, I mean, so once you invest in Brazilian thrash metal, all of a sudden, conventional thrash metal becomes a lot more accessible.
Yes,
similar to Slipknot. If you have like a Slipknot which is topping the Billboard charts, much heavier things become normal. And maybe that was the idea. If Roadrunner's already invested if they've incubated like 20 death metal bands on new metal bands or whatever, then invest in a Slipknot, then all those other incubated acts become much more viable.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's the phasing of it.
Yeah, exactly. And as I told you, I'm not an A&R guy, but one thing has to be said. The guys at Sepultura, especially the drummer and Andreas Kisser, the guitar player.
Igor and
they were very, very, very good.
Yeah.
They were like
I watched a recent video of Igor, and it's so funny because the camera's just training his face and he's just grunting, just
yeah.
40,
and Andreas also a super guitar player, so
yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start winding down, Jerome. So can you recall your best day at Roadrunner and your worst day at Roadrunner, but you're not allowed to say when you started and left? Is there any particular things that jump out?
The best day at Roadrunner was the day that when Roots was, it was Roots, when Roots was released, and that we got 9 covers of cultural section in Brazilian Mage papers.
Right.
And I had promised my marketing guy, if we get 10 covers, I'll pay you a trip to the United States. And he didn't win. Okay, but we threw him a party in Brazil and everything, but okay, business is business. But he got us 9 covers. And it was like after 4 years from, punk rock kills a metal headbanger in one of those shows to, this is Sepultura. Sepultura represents Brazil and everything. And Sepultura was on TV Global, which is the biggest TV channel in Brazil and everything. And that was a reward of all, of course. And it was very nice. It was great.
Yeah. And the worst day.
The worst day. The worst day would be 3 years after I left Roadrunner, when the kind of music that we had invested on one band, or that one band represented was Jambendola, and there was this folk-rock, was this mixture of folk with rock, began to play. And then 1 band, 2 bands, 3 bands, I said, Jesus Christ, we were very close, but of course we need more time. Yeah. But the feeling was right. The feeling was right. So that was a sad day, but anyway, that's how it goes. So
when you, I know it's an open question, we've kind of alluded to it a little bit, but when you reflect on your time at Roadrunner and what the team means and what the culture of Roadrunner means, how does that affect you these days, looking back on it? Why was it so effective? Why were Roadrunner so effective at doing what they did?
I think first because we were a small company and everybody had to work hard.
Yeah.
So everybody had a lot to do.
Yeah.
Everybody was always really busy. We would have also an annual meeting with a lot of alcohol, beer and the likes. And we were fun and laugh, but we were always talking business and,
Sure.
And exchanging ideas and this and that. I think that I think we not what that we worked ourselves to death, but we all had a lot to do. But the spirit was good.
Yeah.
And the company was growing. And if you look at the company, many people stayed there for several years.
Yeah.
So Case is very tough, very demanding, but I think he's quite fair.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees the effort of the people. And wow, some of them started with him and they went away in 2010 or 2011. So they stayed the whole, the whole time. So
Yeah.
This was nice. This was, and you felt that you were rewarded,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, financially also. And we saw the company grow, and that's nice. That's
Yeah, I think it's one of those
being part of something.
That's it, isn't it? It's when you are working on something which you are engaged with and enjoying, you don't mind the late nights because you want to deliver for that thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it was nice, and we had. It was difficult. That I think that was nice also because it wasn't easy. There wasn't easy things to do. You had to work very hard.
You were competing with 80% of the rest of the music in Brazil. So yeah.
And we were working with the drug guys, with the addicts, with the and that in Brazil is always seen like And,
yeah.
It was nice.
I like how I like the post office though. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and it worked. And we did a post office, I think, for a year and a half, something like that. And people would write, and there was one like, oh, look, this one hasn't written this in 2 weeks now, and it would send news and everything, and so it went.
I guess one thing I should have asked earlier was there much competition for metal in Brazil? You said obviously Sepultura was signed to that tiny label before they went to Roadrunner.
There was competition. There was competition. You had very small imprints or record labels like Cogumelo in this commercial gallery. You have Devil Discos, and we had some bands also like Crisian and something like other bands. So there was some competition.
Yeah.
But Sepultura was numero uno. From the start. So in this aspect, it was easier for us to work.
Right,
because, Sepultura was numero uno, and they were growing, and so.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there anything I've missed in terms of stories or anything you might have had?
No, I think that's it. As I told you, we're the poor cousin. We were the poor cousin. So and I think we did a very good job too with Roots, because there were two tracks that were recorded in the Amazon with the Caiovas.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was our people doing that from our office in Brazil. So we said, oh, here we are. And we worked also with Ratos de Porão, with John Gordo. It was a band called Viper also, but that record was shit. And
Bill Metoyer produced that one, didn't he?
Who? Sorry?
Is it Metoyer? Bill the
I think that was it.
I'm pronouncing it right. But yeah, actually, I saw an article with Viper talking about how they played Monsters of Rock, Brazil, August 94, I want to say.
Yeah,
and they were extremely chuffed about that. To see the name on the banner. But yeah, I think it's the only record they did with Roadrunner.
Yeah, exactly. And,
RDP did all right. They were there for about
RDP,
about 6 years. It's a good fucking run for a Roadrunner band.
Yeah. RDP is Ron Gordon is a character. Still alive.
Good.
Yeah, still alive. But he doesn't drink anymore. He got vegan. I don't.
What is he doing these days then, Jerome?
João Gordo?
No, yourself.
Me, myself. Well, after that, I went to the book publishing industry.
Oh, just like Case.
Huh?
That's exactly.
Yeah, just like Case. But I went and I had a part in. It was a publishing house specialized in psychology.
Right.
With tests and all that. It was okay. And then in 2012, with my wife, I joined my wife, which had a company already, and we distributed digital content via mobile phone, smartphone.
Okay.
We had a deal with the 4 operators in Brazil, and we did very good.
Right.
And then when I was turning 60, I said, I don't want to work anymore. And she said, what are we going to do? And I said, wow, we know Uruguay. We love Uruguay. We have been there several times, and we bought a house here. And we moved in 2017. I still have my little publishing house, but only ebooks.
Right.
So I am the president, I am the writer, I am the editor, I do everything. I've got like 200 books there. Not 200 that I wrote, but
that's still fun though.
It's fun. It pays the wine. It pays the wine, and it's okay. And I don't need anything. I need the computer, and that's it. Everything's in the computer, everything's in the cloud.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I just speak 6 languages. It's easy, so I'm doing things in Spanish now, and it's okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's it, mate. Thanks very much for speaking to me. I want to keep you apprised of everything as it's going forward because.
Okay. And if you come to Brazil, I'll go to Brazil.